Since this is like a cozy lecture, I want to start off with some, to understand why you guys are here. So who here has a game on Steam live? Right, a couple of people. Who here wants to have a game on Steam live? Right, pretty much everyone. So I think you'll find this lecture pretty useful because what I'm going to share, it's an 86-slide presentation on the full story of TinyBuild. And I'm going to be like sometimes asking you guys on specific questions, and depending on your reaction, I'm going to dive deeper into specific topics or not. So in the interest of time, who am I? I'm the co-founder and CEO of TinyBuild. I previously worked at Spill Games for 4 years, where I founded a website called a10.com. Previously, I was a game journalist. I spent some time being an investigator, working for the police in the financial crimes department, and I was a pro gamer. So you can see it's like a pretty diverse background. So today, I'm going to share the story of what is TinyBuild Games, how we got where we are. I'm going to take a deep dive into SpeedRunners, our most popular game on Steam Early Access right now, how we built that up, what kind of hurdles we had, and how we fought with the curse of indie multiplayer, and how we're going to scale that with our second Early Access game. And if you have any questions, please note them, because sometimes I might miss some important detail that you would like to note about, to find out about. So note your questions, and we have these sweet hats over here that I'm just going to throw at people that ask questions as a reward. Right, so without further ado, it all started 3 years ago on a little website called Congregate. I was working at Spill Games licensing Flash games, where I stumbled upon this little game called No Time to Explain, which was a 5-minute Flash game made by an indie developer over the weekend, and this thing was spreading virally. So I thought to myself, why not just approach the developer and say, hey, let's team up. I will do the marketing side of things, and you'll do the everything else side of things, and we'll make a game company. And a couple of months later, we launched the Kickstarter with this trailer.
I am you from the future. There's no time to explain. Follow me to— Oh, Christ! I'm so much pain! Oh, God! My ribs are in my eyes! Why? Okay. I am you from the future. Wait a minute.
The Russian people are really confused by the joke at the end of that trailer. So anyway, we launched this Kickstarter. This was way before Double Fine, like way before video games made it Kickstarter. There were a couple of board games on the platform before, but we raised $26,000 with an asking goal of 7, and this was a record at the time. So we were like, getting interviews like, how is this like the next big thing? And then, a couple of months later, Double Fine launches, and yeah, it is kind of the next big thing. We also got a lot of support from Notch and a bunch of other really known personalities in the game development community. And because of that, we had this, like the snowball effect going, right? And one of the benefits of that snowball effects is that we also got some extra financing offers, right? So we had like publishers throwing money at us. It's like, we'll give you more money to sign with us. And we eventually ended up signing. This is an email in Russian, though, so the highlight area there is that the publisher is going to give us extra financing in exchange for exclusive rights for distribution in the Russian-speaking countries. We're like, all right, why not? They will give us access to Steam, and they're going to give us extra financing. So we're like, are we indie? We have a budget, so let's hire a developer, showcase the game at conventions, and live the indie life. Why the hell not? The problem was that I don't code well, I used to be a web developer, so I know a little bit of JavaScript. ActionScript, C#, no, that's not my thing at all. And Tom, at that time, the initial developer of No Time to Explain, he coded only in ActionScript 2. So we had to hire a third guy on team to make the game technically stable. So we did eventually sign with Buka, and about 3 months in, we get an email saying, yeah, Super Meat Boy didn't sell so well, so you don't get any money. And this is when the game was like completely planned out, and we were counting on the fact that we would get the money from Buka, the Russian publisher, and they that way we would hire a developer to make the game run properly on all of the platforms that we were targeting, namely Steam, and that we would get on Steam. And this was way before Greenlight, so there was no real way to get on Steam without a publisher. So we had an urgent change of plans. We had no access on Steam. We had only half of the budget, and we're like, what the hell do we do now? And then my marketing brain started thinking about that because as part of my previous jobs, I was really into affiliate marketing. It's when you promote a product and then you get the commission of the sale. It's like pretty much how any online business works right now. But at that time, for video games, it was a new thing. So we were like, why not release in August 2011 as we had initially imagined? We're going to stretch the limits of ActionScript 2 as much as possible. So release a Flash game, but commercially, and wrap it into like things to make it run full screen with hardware support and everything. So we decided we'll split the game into 2 episodes, releasing the first one in August 2011 using the virality that we have from Kickstarter and the community that we have built. And we will release it on our own website and letting other affiliates promote the game. So if an affiliate like writes an article about the game or makes a video, he can paste a link where he can get like a cut of the sale. So we did release in August 2011, and it made some money. It made not nearly as much as we would like to, but the game did have like a small viral effect. A couple of YouTubers made videos, nothing too special. It gave us enough money to go to Las Vegas, for example, for the first Minecon where Notch invited us. It gave us some money to like finish the actual season 2. And we released season 2 or episode 2, like the second part of the game, in December, so half a year later. And we had absolutely 0 sales. We had no Steam access, the affiliate network wasn't working at all, and we realized that indie life is kind of depressing when you can't make any money. And that was the whole of 2011, right? So we started out with this like, oh, hey, let's make indie games. We had this huge viral effect, and then it's like one partnership falls through, and then everything just falls because the game is not selling well, it's technically unstable. It's kind of funny, but that's it. It was still a joke. Most of 2012 we spent in limbo, focusing on our main jobs that actually make us some money, so we did a lot of stuff there. But then in September 2012, a little thing called Greenlight appeared. And I was super excited about it. We were the 5th game submitted to Greenlight. I remember when Valve announced it, I was like refreshing the page on the supposed launch day, waiting for the forum to appear. And like as soon as it appeared, I just like copy-pasted stuff in, and we were the 5th game to appear there. We got greenlit in the 3rd batch in November of 2012, and I remember I was screaming when I got the email. I just opened up the email, I screamed, and I call Tom. He also screams, and we're just screaming on the phone. That was how happy we were. But then the question was, we still had the code base, which was made in Flash and ActionScript 2, which was incredibly unstable. And who here has worked with Flash? A couple of people. So you may understand the trickiness of using an ancient Flash technology for a commercial game. So we spent the next couple of months like this, trying to figure out, one, how do we implement the Steam API into the game? How do we make it run full screen? How do we merge the 2 Flash files, which were like the separate seasons, into one without it crashing? Because stretching the limits of Flash technology is not the best idea. How do we make the frame rate run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So we were initially targeting a Christmas release date, but we missed it, and we did release in January 2013 with, like the summary of all of the press reviews was the worst game ever. Because while we did optimize for Windows 7 and Windows Vista at the time, this was when Windows 8 was gaining a lot of traction, and it came with all of the new machines. And guess what? The game doesn't run on Windows 8. At least not the way that we're supposed to. It's like if you have 2 monitors, it doesn't run. If you have a special video card that requires some specific driver, it doesn't work. So the launch was, on one side, from the critics' reviews, a complete disaster because the Metacritic score was like 3 out of 10 on average. But then the YouTubers really loved it and started picking it up. And this was exactly the time when PewDiePie started getting big, where Markiplier was gaining traction. And somehow, despite the fact that the reviews were absolutely awful, YouTubers started posting videos about the game. And that just created this viral effect of No Time to Explain becoming a meme. And then all of a sudden, people started spinning off the memes and making different things with the whole premise of I'm you from the future, no time to explain. And all of a sudden, within like 3 days, we went from being depressed poor indies to depressed rich indies. But fact still remained. We were incredibly burned out from this whole experience. Imagine spending 2 years on working on a game and then it's showing potential and then it's showing it being completely destroyed and showing more potential. It's like this up and down roller coaster. And we're still obsessed about the press because when you read a review from a critic whom you have been looking up to and it's completely sharing the product that you put your soul and heart into, it's really devastating. So this brings us to, and again, this is just the intro, guys. We still have to talk about early access. In February of 2013, I went to a little conference which was actually part of Casual Connect. It was called the DevGam Hamburg track, which had a little indie showcase area put together within Casual Connect. It was the first indie showcase. You see the indie prize here, right? It started in the Hamburg conference of Casual Connect, where there were a couple of indie games here and there. And I'm just like walking around really depressed from the launch, even though we have all of this money. So technically, we should just quit our jobs and start making games full-time, right? That's what indie life is. But we really didn't want to. We really didn't want to start a new game, even though we had the resources to. So at this conference, I found a little game called SpeedRunner HD, which has been released on Xbox Live Indie Games beforehand, to a complete commercial disaster. So the game itself was absolutely phenomenal. It's like Mario Kart, but as a 2D platformer. So I sit down, we start playing it, and 3 hours later, I'm still playing it. I'm like, well, why don't we do something together? Me and the developer talked. With that idea in the head, that was when Luke Burtis also wanted to do something with indie games. He's sitting right here. And we're like, what can we do with indie games? We have these resources. We have like the knowledge of making games. We want to do something indie. So naturally, we went on a week-long cruise. And during that week-long cruise, we had this little idea. What if we, instead of making games ourselves, decide to partner up with indie developers? So we have the marketing capabilities, but we don't really know the technology. We're not programmers. But we know how conferences work. We know how business works. We know how marketing works. So Luca came on board as a business manager, and we partnered up with Double Dash Games, the original developer of SpeedRunner HD. We renamed it to SpeedRunners, which is a more fitting title. Now, the deal was that the original team would focus on the development of the game. So everything regarding the code is on the original team. But everything regarding the art, the world, the lore, and like the marketing is on us. So we're kind of like these code development companies. And we spent the next 6 months in a really long crunch from the beginning of the year until summer 2013. We added new characters, new identity. We really reworked the game. And we launched the game in Steam Early Access during PAX Prime of 2013. So over almost 2 years ago now. And PAX Prime, it's a consumer show, if you don't know. It's 80,000 people walking around in cosplay and checking out the newest games, the newest swag. Everyone is cosplaying, and it's really, really cool. We had this tiny spot, which was about the size of this stool, in the indie mini booth. It's like a collection of small booths, indie games showcasing. It was like a couple of corridors, and we had a really tiny spot over there. It's actually like more the size of this tribune. So imagine a 4-player game being showcased amongst these like small tables. And the traffic flow just like going past it, and everyone going like, oh, what's that? I'm just going to stand here. And a couple of hours later, we just had the whole booth clogged up because the traffic people just couldn't go through. And everyone was like worrying, what is this SpeedRunners game? And this is where I really felt like this game is going to be really, really big. And then someone was there from the press, I think it was Kotaku, that wrote an article saying, oh, remember those No Time to Explain guys, Tiny Bill Games? They're now publishing indie games. So we're like, well, all right, I guess we're an indie publisher now. Let's just roll with it. Because as soon as that article went live, people started emailing us with their game pitches. Like, oh, hey, can you publish this game? Can you publish that game? We're like, all right, sure, let's just roll with it. So that's kind of the longer story of Tiny Build. We now have, flash forward, years later, we now have a dozen games across console and mobile. We have games in completely different genres. I'm just going to show you a couple of videos of, like This Lovely Planet is a first-person Twitch platformer, which we sold as this like really upbeat, happy game that's really easy. But at about level 7, the difficulty just escalates into insanity. And that was a joke with the marketing. And everyone went along with the joke and gave it spectacular reviews. We released Fearless Fantasy on Steam a couple of months ago, and we're about to release it on mobile. We're working on another early access game called Boyd, which is a simplified or a streamlined real-time strategy game, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. And that was just the intro. Just to summarize, we went from Congregate to Kickstarter. We got greenlit. We released on Steam. We signed SpeedRunners. We became an indie publisher, and now we're scaling to everything else. And now let's talk about early access. This is how SpeedRunners looked on launch. Now, if you compare it with the initial imagery, it looks quite different. So we worked on giving characters personality. Like this is something that I believe is very important to have these like recognizable images and like have some sort of lore in the game. Because even if the gameplay is absolutely phenomenal, if the game design is solid, if your game is not recognizable, no one's going to play it. And we built a lot of like jokes in the game, and this is all in Russian. Russians are going to laugh. And this is now being posted on Facebook like crazy in VKontakte. And it's basically this character who's wearing this like cosmonaut helmet. He doesn't speak English, that's the joke, and he just doesn't understand what's going on. He's just running. And the pink guy called Eunuch, he just really likes horses. We built the full lore with like a series of comic books. We did some ARGs. We gave characters backstories. We have like an in-world conflict where the Falcon, the chicken guy that's on my t-shirt, he like hates everyone else because they didn't save his Falcon farm. And we have a lot of fun with that, and people really buy into that. People really love the storytelling elements. Even though the gameplay is like really, it has evolved, but it hasn't changed from when the game first released on Xbox Live indie games. And it just shows how that the lore, the building of the personality really helps sell the games. Of course, we add the rainbows. And if you want to, let's see. Yeah, we have some time for a trailer of SpeedRunners just to give you an idea of what the game is like. Because I just realized that I haven't mentioned it.
I am the law. I am the night. I am
Nova Sprint!
Accelerate!
Garbage girls! Yeah.
So even though we're in Steam Early Access, we already signed with Xbox One, and the game's coming there later this year. Now, I already briefly mentioned the design. Like, as you have seen, it's pretty much Mario Kart in the shape of a 2D platformer. You run around the track, and you have to knock other players off screen. The camera always follows the person in the lead, detected by a lead detection system. And if you fall behind, you're knocked off screen, and then the screen gets smaller in sudden death mode, which makes elimination much easier, and then everyone respawns. So you play until someone scores 3 points. So if we talk a little bit about this design, which, the design has been solid from the very beginning. It's all about the risk and the reward. Like, if in this example, you have two paths that you can take. If you take the lower path, it's easier to do because you don't have to do any jumps. You will get some boost, and you can use that boost to counter rockets or to accelerate or to change direction mid-air much quicker. Or if you want to get an item, you have to jump. Odds are, you're going to mess up the jump, and it's going to be a little bit slower, but you have the risk and reward of what if you get a grappling hook that allows you to overtake the other opponents. That's like the risk and reward scenario, and it goes much deeper in terms of level design. Like in this specific example, you can do a really easy swing with the upper path, or you can get an item which can be really valuable if you do a wall jump section in below. I'm not the designer of the game, but I always admire it on what Casper, the lead designer, does with this. It's like it's all very fair. The main thing about speedruns is that it's very easy to pick up, and when you lose, you feel like you have messed up, and when you win, you feel like you have succeeded. It's a very fair game design. So we launch, and there were a lot of local multiplayer games launching at that time. There is every day you see a new Towerfall style game launching. But we launched with online functionality, which is very difficult to pull off, especially in a small indie game that is Twitch-based. Because we don't have collisions between players, we're able to pull off online in this indie game. Because there's very few interactions that happen with the match. I mean, there's the weapons and everything, but you can do some smoke and mirrors here. But fact is, we got into the curse of indie multiplayer, which is if no one is playing your game, it's probably dead. So if you buy a game and then you see that there's no one to play against online and there's no really single-player component, you're going to be mad. So the first half year after launch was a lot of desperate work with the press to get them excited about the game. It was all about building a loyal community, and we spent a lot of time on different tournaments, events, modifiers, figuring out how can we congregate the community. One of the things that worked best for us was in the very beginning, we did events every Thursday. We're like, you know, we're in early access, so the game is not out, so we can technically break it. What if we break it every single Thursday? So every Thursday we're like, what if all of a sudden the rockets start falling from the sky? Or what if everyone has 3 rockets or runs 5 times faster? We did a lot of those kind of things, and the ones that did work, we actually kept as modifiers in the game. So you can actually like trigger a roulette wheel that will just spin around and go like, oh, everyone now runs faster, yay. We also did a lot of ARGs with tournaments in the game. So this specific one was the first King of Speed tournament where we created lots of like fake Twitter profiles. We were doing like fake reality TV shows where the Let's Plays of the games were like tied into this weird virtual reality. And King Cosmo won it, and we just gave him a crown, and he was running with a crown for a full month in the game. That was really funny. And we kind of aligned this with the rise of YouTubers, because we know that all of the desperate work with the press, okay, well, we get a mention here and there, and it will drive some sales, but whenever some big YouTuber posts a video on SpeedRunners, the sales just go like this, and then like this. And that helped with the online, right? So the more YouTubers are playing your indie game, the more online players you're going to get, and the more players that will attract. So it went as far as we noticed these kind of things popping up on the internet, which is fan art. And it's not fan art of speedrunners. It's fan art of a YouTuber called Cinnamon Toast Ken who wears this silly bear hat playing speedrunners. And then these guys are also, this fan art of YouTubers playing speedrunners. And this, and this, and this, and this. And this, and this, and this is PewDiePie. This artwork is insane. Like, if there are artists here, you're going to really appreciate what has been done here. And we had this like tremendous wave of YouTube videos, which really boosted the game and dragged it out of the indie multiplayer curse. And it's just a drawing of a pony in the shape of eunuch. But then we started thinking, how can we like leverage this? We felt like we should just do an expansion where we add a little bit more characters, which is what we did. We added 4 more characters, which had like this conflict going on within the game, where, like I said, the chicken is mad at everyone else, and we kind of explored that. And that was the first year of SpeedRunners. So we added 4 new characters. We added a level editor. We spent loads of time on balancing and tweaking the game. We fixed the problem where if you play a match, there is no reason to play another match by adding a league system. We signed a deal with Xbox One, and we have developed 20 more characters, right? This was all going in parallel with development as design. But then, getting back to the YouTubers, we thought, wouldn't it be cool? And I remember this exact conversation, like just saying, having lunch or something, wouldn't it be cool if YouTubers were characters in the game? How can we pull that off? So we went to PAX Prime last August. We had like a nice orange booth where people were playing speedrunners. We had these insane orange beanbags, and did you notice the orange? Did you notice my shoes? That's like our company color. I also did an in-depth postmortem on PAX Prime. It's a useful read on tinybull.com and advertising. So during this PAX Prime event, we also had a deal where we would get all of the YouTubers together to play a local YouTuber tournament. So the biggest YouTubers gathered in a room and played speedrunners on stage. And over there, we just approached them and said, "Hey, you want to be a character in this game?" Like, "All right, fine. Okay, cool. We'll get back to you." And you can see that they're all wearing our pink T-shirts and our branded stuff. It was a lot of fun. So we signed a deal with them, and we were like, wait a second, don't I know marketing and that whole affiliate networking stuff? So why not apply that to YouTubers? So what we did is, aside from adding YouTubers as part of the game, we started doing affiliate events where PewDiePie, for example, hosted a cup in partnership with Gfinity. It's an actual esports league, Gfinity, right? Where PewDiePie would post a link where if people buy via that link, they just get commission. Right, so it kind of worked out. Like the ideas that I had 3 years before, 2 years before, all of a sudden started working because it wasn't about the press anymore. It was about the entertainment and YouTubers. Because the press has to be objective. They can't be like affiliated or incentivized to post a positive review. But the YouTubers, they're doing entertainment, so why the hell not? So we added the YouTuber characters. Then all of a sudden we were showing so much promise that the Goat Simulator guys wanted the Goat in the game. Then Valve approached us and said, "Hey, do you want to put the Scout from TF2 into the game?" We're like, "Sure, why not?" Then we launched the second King of Speed tournament with the YouTubers, where we actually we separated 8 YouTubers into 2 DLC packs that people can buy. And when this launched, we had a tournament going on between like the 2 YouTuber teams, where if you score a point as one of the YouTubers, it accumulates wins to that team. And the idea was when we the money that we make from the winning team's DLC will just donate to cancer research. We actually ended up donating like most of what we made, and that gave us a lot more. But I think that having these kind of interactive initiatives where if you play as a specific character in the game, and that contributes to something that's visible in the main menu, which contributes to a bigger goal, really helped us build the community. So that's where we are up until now, right? So the too long didn't read version on SpeedRunners is that publishing and development here go hand in hand. So while people label us as a publisher, I really like to think about us as this partner that like dives really deep into the game. And what I noticed with this approach is that development becomes very iterative in this kind of partnership because there's no like 6 months plan or anything. We know that we need to launch on Xbox One this year. So it goes like, okay, we need to have the code stale, we need to have that. But in between, we do these small iterations, and since we're in early access, we can get away with it because the design is not final, the game is not final, and we can tweak what the final game is going to be. So early access, in a nutshell, it really allows us to do like some brave experiments that haven't been done before, and we can get away with it. And this was, when was this? It says 18 days ago. That is not true. That was, I think, in August. SpeedRunners broke 1 million in sales, and we just count the amount of time played. It was 162 years played in the game, and the top players, they have played, we have the league system, right? If you look at the top 10 players, they have played 800 plus hours. I have the game open half of the day, and I have played only 500 hours. So I have no idea what they do in the year time. We're going to release soon-ish, because right now, as I said, there is a lot of things to consider. Like, are we going to render the XNA engine that we have right now into Unity? Are we going to fully port it to C++? We need to have the code stabilized and have all of the features wrapped up before we officially release. And ideally, we would want to release, do the Steam official, this is the final game release, alongside Xbox One, because really consoles are the target platform for this game. No one wants to have their PC, get it out, have it connected with 4 controllers, hooked up via HDMI to a TV. It's just really troublesome, which is why consoles are going to be a really useful platform to be on for this game. Now, that's the first game we have in early access, and that's kind of like the time span that we spend on that. I'm going to briefly talk about Void, because I actually rushed through this presentation pretty quickly. Void is a real-time strategy game that if you played RTSs, you know that you have to spend like 20 to 40 minutes just figuring out how to do it. This one, see if this video works. It's very, very simplified. You just have bases that spawn units, and then you have bases that convert units into a specific class, just like in Team Fortress. We have 8 classes. And with this game, we have launched a couple of weeks ago, in the beginning of January. We are struggling with exactly the same things as with SpeedRunner. Like the core gameplay is there. How do we make sure that there is glue between the matches? How do we make people stay? How do we make them monetize? So the strategy is pretty simple. We're just going to showcase the game everywhere we can because that's where the most loyal gamers come to. We're going to gather a lot of feedback. We have launched on early access for a very low price. This is something we're doing different with SpeedRunners. So we launched the game for $3, and we will have an iterative pricing model where the further we are along development, the more the game will cost. So the final game will cost around $10. Right now it's $3. And we have actually started working more with Twitch streamers on this game than YouTubers, because what I really find interesting is that when people play the game live and are interacting with the chat, it creates this like feedback loop where people can really understand what the game is about. We will have to overcome the curse of indie multiplayer, which hopefully we'll solve in a couple of weeks, where we're going to do like a small bundle, which hasn't been announced yet, so don't tell anyone, please. And we're going to, from there on, we're going to develop the features further. And I took a screenshot of this yesterday, where so far we have just under 100 reviews, and it's mostly positive. So far, not too shabby. I have rushed through this presentation in 31 minutes and 6 seconds. So here is the final slide, and let's move on to Q&A. Thank you. So if anyone has any questions or wants a hat, that would be fantastic. Well, if no one has, yep, we have a question right here.
I don't know that much about Steam. Could you give like a 2-minute primer on, like technically, how it differs from all the other various platforms?
Right. So Steam is it's a PC-centric platform where they have a client for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's an app that you download. It's a marketplace, right? So much like iOS, Steam is a platform where you get an account, you input your credit card, and you download games. But what they did with that platform is they went a step further and created features like, they were the first to do achievements, right, in the games. They were the first to do leaderboards. I think they were the first to do cloud saves, right? So a lot of the mobile stuff is actually, imitating what's been on Steam. But more interestingly, what they have been doing in the last couple of years is tying games into meta games. So like, if you want to get a really cool item in this game, you can go to another game, complete an achievement there, and then that starts to transfer. So it's a really open marketplace. Up until a year ago or so, it was very closed. So if you were on Steam, like I said in the presentation, we really wanted to be on Steam at that point. If you were on Steam over a year ago, you would make money. It didn't matter what your game was. But getting on it was really hard. And since they launched Greenlight, the marketplace has become a bit saturated, just like the app stores. So now people are really, developers are really competing for attention. It's unclear on where Steam is going to go. Last year we were at Steam Dev Days, where they announced their Steam machines, which is supposed to be like this console running a modified version of Linux that is embedded with Steam. And these controllers that allow you to control any game that requires mouse and keyboard input. They said that they're going to announce that at GDC this year, which is what I'm really excited about. So that kind of gives you a little overview of what Steam is. Oh, we have 2 more questions. One here. I'm just going to throw a hat at you.
Спасибо за доклад. Я задам вопрос на русском. Как связаться с ютуберами? Они получают много писем. Как написать, чтобы ответили, чтобы заметили?
Okay, the question asked in Russian is about how to get in touch with YouTubers. You also said that they get a lot of letters, etc. That's not true. They don't get a lot of email. The press does. The press does get a lot of email. But there is a really good presentation from Mike Rose who was previously with Gamma Sutra and is now with Tiny Build, on how to. It's actually the presentation is from DevGam in Minsk. The title of the presentation is how to talk with YouTubers, I believe, and that's exactly answers your question. Basically, YouTubers, the main publishers don't recognize them as a big threat yet. So they don't get that much email. They don't get in touch with too many PR agencies, etc. So if you're able to, like, scavenge some profiles, you will be able to find an email or, like, find a way to directly message on YouTube. The main thing with the press and YouTubers is that the press is interested in a story, right? So you need to, like, say an interesting story on how your game was developed, etc., etc., etc. And that is what the press writes about. They need an article, a story. YouTubers, all they need is a Steam key, because they love streaming games from Steam, and a video, and maybe some screenshot. That's it. So it's really easy to get in touch with them. And then you have games that are being built for YouTube, right? So like the latest game from the Surgeon Simulator guys called I Am Bread, that was built to be interesting on YouTube. So I hope that answers your question, and do check out the presentation by Mike Rose. We have another question over there.
Steam Machine has had a lot of false starts, or it seems like it hasn't picked up steam. Do you feel that this will be the year that it makes an impact in the market, or this is something just a 2016 type of thing?
I was super excited about Steam Machines in the beginning of last year, because the new consoles weren't taking off yet. They were pretty new, and I felt like that Steam Machines could, like, eat up a chunk of that marketplace. It has been too long. You're absolutely right. What I expect will happen is that there's still a huge market for PC gamers that like to take their laptop and just connect them to their TVs, right, and then figure out the control input. So I think there will be a market. To how big that market will be, it's a good question, but we will make that bet. So, like, any games that we can bring to Linux, we will bring it to Linux, just to, like, try and leverage that market. Yeah. Would you like hat? Oh, no, I missed.
In continuation to the question that was asked in Russian, when you're working with YouTubers, after you have found them, did you have to weed through and actually take some out? Did you have problems with the work that they were doing in some cases, or?
Do you mean, like, problems with the content they produce?
Yes.
Well, there is a video of our game called Spoiler Alert from Total Biscuit, where he absolutely destroys it, says that it is the worst game ever. So it's really painful to watch those videos, but there is no real way you can influence that, right? What the YouTubers are doing is they're creating entertainment, right? YouTube is now becoming this, like, platform where you go there to be entertained or to get the latest news or whatever. I can't really see a way to, like, counter that. There's no, like, they don't send you a video preview of what they're gonna say. They will just share their real life or real game experience, and that will be their video. That's the whole appeal of YouTubers, right? Because they share their genuine feelings about the game.
In continuation to that, there was actually, never mind, I'll talk to you about it.
All right, we can catch up offline. Another question right there. Here's a hat.
Hello. I want to ask, what do you think of early access fraud, like happened lately? So people apply to it, or like Kickstarter fraud. People, like, had a Kickstarter campaign, raised like 200%, and a year later they release their game, added features, and don't keep up with their promises.
Right. So the question is, what do you think about the early access games that makes a lot of promises and then just, like, fade away, right?
Yeah, and just disappear and leave other.
Yeah, I've seen that multiple times. I think it's very damaging to the industry in general, because especially like when you design your first game, 90% of the time it's going to be, oh, you wake up with no memory on an island and you have to survive. guess what DayZ is? Guess what Rust is? Guess what H1Z1 is? It's like, everyone's like first game idea came to life because, you have the distribution model, which is early access selling an unfinished game. You have the technology there. You can mash stuff up with Unity. You can have floating cloud holding the people on the server. It's now possible, right? What I think is happening is that like Valve has actually taken some countermeasures to that. Like now the terms of use of early access means that when you're buying the game, you're buying the game in its current state, not what the developer promises. That has been changed, and we had to change a bunch of our descriptions because of that. And I think it's very sad when people can't really deliver or overestimate their capabilities. Because sometimes, like the games that get defunct, I'm not going to name names, but there have been a couple of games that promise this, and then the developer goes on 4-month binge of porting it to a new engine and then forgets about updates, and then the game gets taken off Steam. I think it's very discouraging, and I think the best way to counter that is for there to be some sort of curation for early access games, or like more curation, or some sort of like developer certification, I want to say, but that goes against the whole open marketplace, right? So it's kind of like, where do you find the balance? I think it will be up to the users who will either get burned by a couple of early access games and stop buying them, which is what I thought was going to happen 6 months ago, but now H1Z1 releases, and I personally love it. It's a great game, but it's very unfinished.
I just want to add, Vlambeer recently just said that their news game has like double the time of wishlist
Nuclear
entries.
Throne is twice as long as in development.
No,
Yes.
no, that their wishlist entries on Steam is like double the time of their actual sales. So it's still in early access. People just don't buy it. They wait.
Yeah, people wait. What you can do in Steam is you can look at the amount of people that have added your game to their watch list or like wish list, and that gives you like an idea of how many people are going to buy it either during the next sale or when it actually comes out. But yeah, the faith in early access has been like slowly going down, and I think it's happening like in the same fashion as just with a 1-year delay as Kickstarter, right? There are a lot of Kickstarter projects that promise this and that and that, and then it's really difficult to deliver. Like in our original Kickstarter, we said, yeah, it's going to come to Xbox One. Well, that was 3 years ago, and we're still porting it. We're almost submitting to certification for Xbox One. But it's just really difficult to estimate how much work it's going to be. And with game development, who here hasn't missed a deadline, right? Oh yeah, it's going to take 2 months. 3 months later, yeah, just couple more weeks. And then, 6 months in, it's done. Right.
One more.
I'm just going to throw a hat at people.
Hello. I just wanted to ask, based on the early access and stuff you was explaining here, how do you see the future of the Steam in general in the next 3 years?
Future of Steam in general in the next 3 years.
Yep.
I think it's going to become really brutal. I think it's going to become more like the App Store. Like I see a lot of free-to-play stuff coming in. I see a lot of people, getting in on that free-to-play stuff. I see a lot of games that make absolutely no sense rise to the top charts, much like in the App Store. So I think it will become a fierce marketplace, fierce to get attention. The good news is that Valve is a lot more open than, let's say, iOS in terms of like how to get uploads done. Like I can update the game from this laptop like right now. I can just upload it and have no certification, nothing. So it's really flexible, and I think it will give a lot of developers more opportunities. But then it will also naturally select the good developers or the developers that are relevant at that time. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Shall we throw a hat?
More questions?
I really can't throw.
Okay, maybe question also from my side. How many copies you sold so far of SpeedRunner?
SpeedRunners, I think it's around 300,000 so far. Like maybe 350,000. That will include like the actual sales of the game and bundles, because we do a lot of bundles, and the natural reaction to that is like, oh, well, are you going to diminish the price of your game? Because they sell for next to nothing compared to retail. But what that does is it creates a like a shockwave effect, because a lot of people start playing it, a lot of people start posting videos about it, and other people look at it and then buy it at full price. So 350,000 including bundles.
Okay. Okay, one more.
Okay, one more.
You said that Steam is gonna get a lot of free-to-play games in a few years. How you make difference from of your game from all the games in Steam right now? I mean, okay, you can talk to YouTubers, you can talk press, but how you make? I mean, you have a good game. SpeedRunners is quite fun,
Thank you.
but how you reach it, how you make a really strong difference, because I've seen so many games that they are really good, but they made no sales.
Well, that was a question that everyone's asking here, right? It's like, how do you differentiate yourself? Like our corporate strategy is being discussed at about 1 a.m. when we're at PAX, like laying down floor tiles instead of carpeting. And then we're like, oh, hey, let's try that. Oh, sure, let's try it tomorrow. And that's how we iterate, right? There is no grand vision of how are we going to differentiate ourselves like in that time. What we do is we just try to shift and adapt. And like I said, the reason I love early access is because we can try 50 things. 5 things are going to work. 40 are going to fail. The other 5 are going to fail in a funny way, so I'll talk about them. So I think it's all about shifting and adapting to where the market is really going.
And as publishers, how you choose the games you will publish? I mean,
most of the games that we choose is like in this showcase example. Last year we were here and I saw the game called Spoiler Alert. It's like a reverse platformer that won the award here. I was like, this is absolutely hilarious. How can we help you guys? And the developer said, he needs this, and this, and we're like, okay, well, let's go. We're going to partner up and we're going to help you with that. So I think the question is like, which games do we like as people working at TinyBuild, and how can we add value as a partner? Because it's easy to just go ahead and, oh yeah, we'll publish this, we'll publish that. But if you don't add value, you just add overhead to the developer. Like if the developer already has everything sorted out and you can't add anything, why bother, right? You might as well just give them advice for free, and then they're going to put a good word in for you to other developers.
so basically, it's games do have fun playing, and
yeah, it's more like that. Or it's also about seeing the potential, because it's really difficult to judge a game when it's like it just started as like a game jam prototype and everyone loves it. Like it's difficult to see how the final product might shape up, right? And it's something that we have developed, like as a team chemistry. It's like we'll always go like, no, this game is great. No, this game is not great because of that, and we just go like, where can we add the value and make sure that we actually help the developer make the game better? It's all about asking that question.
thank you.
All right, so I think this is going to be the final hat that I throw into the audience, and I miss again.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex.